let's get the webinar started then. Hello and welcome to today's session. I hope you've had a lovely day so far. If we haven't met each other before, it's lovely to meet you. My name is Wing and I will be teaching today's lesson on poetry. Thank you so much to 11+ Learning Journey for collaborating with us today. I hope this is a really helpful and interesting and fun lesson for you all. So I'm just going to wait maybe a few more seconds for everyone to get here. To talk to me, please use the Q&A function within Zoom. So this is a little messaging icon at the bottom of your screen, which someone has already used to say hello and Merry Christmas. Big hello to you too, and I hope you have a happy Christmas and Happy New Year. Hopefully everyone's excited for Christmas and have finished their Christmas shopping. Not too long to go now. Okay, I think that looks to be a good number, so I'll get started. So big hello from Atom Learning. Let's learn all about some poetry. So the structure of today's lesson will be as follows. So we'll start off with a warm-up and look at some inference, which we all know is a key skill in poetry. After that, we'll do a bit of comprehension practice and finish off with some wintry creative writing. And our learning objective today is to understand how poets use powerful imagery to communicate with their readers. And then we're going to look at applying this to our own creative writing. So starting off with our warm-up, getting our brains warmed up, we're going to jump on over to Atom Learning. And if I can do this, very smooth, we're going to go to English and practice some inference questions. It's a very on-brand, on-trend, wintry world. If we go into inference, we'll try some questions. So we are looking at a passage called The Forbidden Door. I'm going to scroll to the question, and that tells us we need to look at section 1 and figure out or infer what kind of a house is described in section 1. So if I scroll back up again, and I'll read this section out for you just in case it's not too clear on your screen. So Gus, Alice and Benji the dog are stood before an old wooden door inside a house. Gus says, "Grandma never let us through this door when she was alive. This is our only chance to find out what's behind it before Mum and Dad sell her house." To which Alice replies, "Well, what are we waiting for?" So that's a little excerpt from a play called The Forbidden Door. And now I'm going to set up a poll well, it's going to have 5 answer options, but ignore option E. And can you tell me what kind of a house is being described? Poll should now be launched for you. So if you select either A, a new house, B, a big house, C, a bungalow, or D, an old house, to tell me what you think the answer is. And I'll give you around a minute or a bit less if everyone's feeling confident. Lots of answers coming in already. It's looking very good. Keep your answers coming in. I'll give you a little bit longer. Okay, let's say 5 more seconds. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm going to end the poll there, and here are our results. See, the most popular answer was D, an old house. Let's give it a try. And we are absolutely right. Well done. So we can infer that the house is old because in the stage directions, we're told that the people are stood before an old wooden door. So it's impossible for us to know if it's a big house or a bungalow because we just simply don't have enough detail. So that's a good thing to watch out for in an inference question. Moving on now, we need to look at sections 1 and 2, and we need to infer how Gus feels about going through the door. So we just read section 1, let's move on to section 2 now. So Gus says, oh, sorry, section 2 begins. Alice has just asked, what are we waiting for? But no one moves. Then Gus says, don't you remember the story she told us about this door? How those who enter never return? Alice says, you know she made all of that up to scare us when we were little kids. We're not so little anymore. The sky goes dark. Lightning flashes. Benji whimpers and huddles closer to them. I want you now to think about how Gus feels about going through the door, and once again, answer in the poll. Is he A, sad, B, amused, C, scared, or D, entertained? Get rid of this. People seem to be feeling quite confident. How is Gus feeling? I'll give you 5 more seconds. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, end the poll there. And here are our results. So most people went for answer option C. Gus is scared. Let's give it a try and see what the explanation says. And we are absolutely correct. Well done. We can infer that Gus is scared because of the way he says, don't you remember the story she told us about this door? How those who enter never return? This shows that Gus is very nervous about opening the door, which we can then use to infer that he is scared. If you do have a question, you can use the question and answer function on Zoom to communicate with me directly. Okay. We're now looking at how Alice feels, again in the same section. Is Alice A, nervous, B, excited, C, she doesn't care, or is she D, scared? So we need to infer how Alice feels about the door, and poll is ready for you once again, looking at the same part of the passage as earlier. If you're a bit stuck, then go for answer option E, and then we'll talk through it together once time is up. How does Alice feel about the door? Okay, 5 more seconds. So 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Ooh, one sneaky answer snuck on in there, but here are our results. So the most popular answer was B, Alice is excited, although a few votes for both C and A, and also 1 for E. Let's try B and see what happens. So B turns out to be our correct answer. And if we have a look at our explanation, we can infer that Alice is very excited about opening the door because of the way she says, well, what are we waiting for? This demonstrates that she can't wait to open the door, and it's actually something called a rhetorical question. So that is something that people say, which sounds like it could be a question, but they're actually not looking for an answer at all. It's merely to sort of encourage everyone to go through the door. We're doing really well so far. I think there are going to be 2 more questions in this warm-up. And we need to now look at section 3. So that's this here. I'll read the question out first, and then we'll look at the text. So look at section 3. How does Alice feel about the weather outside? So once again, thinking about Alice's feelings, and she says at the beginning of section 3, Well, we can't go out to play now because it's raining. We don't have anything better to do. Gus replies, if a zombie or a skeleton jumps out at us, you're going to be eaten first. Alice then opens the door slowly, revealing a dark corridor. Alice says, no way! Does this lead to a secret basement? She enters the corridor. Don't shut the door, okay? Gus follows, but Benji, that's the dog, refuses to move. Gus says, come on, boy, it's okay. So at the very beginning of this section, Alice talked about the weather, but how does she feel about it? Is it that A, she's scared of the rain, so she wants to stay inside? B, she loves going outside in the rain? C, she is glad it's raining because it means they can open the door? D, she's more scared of the wind than of the rain? Or is it E, she does not like the rain, so she is sad? Here is your poll. Have a think, have a go. Maybe combine what you know from section 1 and 2 as well. I can return to the passage if anyone would like that. I'm not sure it all fit on one page though. See that lots of people have gone for one particular answer, but I'll give everyone 3 more seconds this time to get their answer in. So 3, 2, 1, end the poll there. Here are our results. And the most popular answer was C. Let's give it a try. Suspect you could be correct. And you absolutely are. Well done. So at the very start of section 3, Alice is glad that it's raining because it means that they can open the door. She points out that, oh, they can't go out to play now because it's raining. We don't have anything better to do. So that means that Gus and Alice and Benji all have to go through the door. Let's try one more question, and we're moving on to section 4 this time, making our way through this passage. So at the end of section 3, Gus talks to Benji, encourages him to go through the door. Benji joins them hesitantly. And Gus says, ugh, it smells as gross as Grandpa's dirty socks here. Can you find a light switch? Alice replies, these walls are made of stone. This place must be ancient. I don't think there's any electricity here. Gus replies, oh, I don't like this, Alice. I can barely see my own fingers in front of my face, and it's freezing. I feel shivers up my spine. What if there are spiders all over the floor? Alice replies, oh, hush, Gus. You're such a chicken, scared of the tiniest of ants. The door slams. They are plunged into total darkness. Alice and Gus scream and grab each other's hands. So after having listened to section 4, what can we deduce that Gus would like to do? Is it A, carry on, B, encourage Alice to carry on, C, stroke Benji, D, sleep, or E, turn around and go back? So what would Gus like to do? Let me know by voting in the poll. Okay, very strong consensus so far. Let's see what everyone votes for. So what do you think Gus would like to do? Great job, everyone. I'm going to give you 3 more seconds. So 3, 2, 1. And that's the end of the poll. Boom. Let's share those results with you. And we can see the most popular answer was E. Let's try it now. And da-da-dum, that is absolutely correct. Well done. So major clue in the text is when Gus says, "Ooh, I don't like this, Alice. I can barely see my own fingers," and so on. So he's listing multiple reasons why he thinks they should turn around. This is now the end of our warm-up, and we can see that we absolutely smashed it. We got all of the questions correct and earned 5 coins. Great job, everyone. And we've now unlocked the next island, which is colons and semicolons. Amazing job. Let's jump back to our slides for a moment and think about some poetry. So here we are, we've finished our warm-up. Ding, amazing. Moving on to our comprehension now. And so the focus of today's lesson is on poetry. I want to start off by thinking about what a poem actually is. So if you can, could you try and give me a definition of what you think a poem is in the Q&A? So could you tell me what a poem is in the Q&A? If that's a little bit tricky, then tell me what features we might find in a poem. It's hard to phrase this question without giving too much away, but let me know what you think a poem is or what you think a poem might contain. Any sort of ideas like that. I'll start off by giving you my definition. So a poem, I think, is a piece of writing which expresses ideas with intensity. So I've got an example on the screen here of a poem called At the Zoo by William Makepeace Thackeray. It's a very cool name. I'll give you a moment to read it if you're interested. Ooh, okay, someone has said, a poem is a story that ends with rhyming words. That is a great answer. I like that a lot. We'll be looking at rhyming in a moment. I've got another answer here, which says, a poem is a writing that usually rhymes and expresses feelings and opinions. I love that. You've got that rhyme is normally a part of a poem. Also talked about feelings and opinions. Great job. Now I'm going to read this example poem out for you, or please read along in your head. So it's very nice and short. Starts with, first I saw the white bear, then I saw the black, then I saw the camel with a hump upon his back, then I saw the grey wolf with mutton in his maw, then I saw the wombat waddle in the straw, then I saw the elephant a waving of his trunk, then I saw the monkeys, mercy, how unpleasantly they smelt. So on a very basic level, this poem is about what the narrator saw at the zoo. But we're now going to dive into a bit of analysis and think more closely about this poem. Ooh, we've also got a few more responses to the question about what a poem is. So we've got a poem is a way of expressing yourself with the best words in the best order. I love that because it really touches on something which is important in poetry, which is the order of the words. Really, really important. And I think poets spend a lot of time thinking about which word should come first in order for the reading of a poem to be very fluent, but also so that the emphasis of their thoughts is on the correct words. So really great answer there. Got another one here, which says a poem is a piece of writing with some different rhythms and sometimes has rhyming words in different areas. Again, lovely picking up on rhythm. We'll talk about that a bit more when we look at some haikus. But yes, the sort of rhythm, the pace of a poem is really important. Great job. And then one final definition of a poem. So a poem is a piece of writing about feelings involving rhyming words. Lovely. Again, picking up on lots of ideas that we've talked about. Rhyming, feelings, great definition. Okay. If we look at the next slide, which I have helpfully coloured in for you, we can see that most of the words at the end of each line rhyme, but not necessarily all of them. So any words that are in the same colour rhyme. So we have black and back, more and straw, trunk and however, trunk, unpleasantly and smelt don't rhyme. So when we are talking at poems, we might talk about their rhyme scheme. So maybe you've seen this before, where you would write letters for each of the lines that rhyme together. So for example, the first two lines rhyme. So we would maybe assign them the letter A to show that the first two lines rhyme. And then if we move on to the next two lines, they also rhyme. So we would assign them the next two letters in the alphabet. However, line 5 does not rhyme with either black, back, more, or straw. So we give it the next letter of the alphabet. And then unpleasantly doesn't rhyme with anything. So we would give that a different letter of the alphabet. And finally, smelt doesn't rhyme. So we give it once again a new letter of the alphabet. So we can describe our rhyme scheme of this poem as A, B, B, C, D, E. Let's do that in a different colour and make that a bit bigger. There we go. So this is our rhyme scheme here. Hopefully that's clear to you. One very fun feature of this poem. So at the end of the poem, the poet says, "Then I saw the monkeys. Mercy, how unpleasantly they smelt." Now you might be thinking, it's a bit weird that the poet went for the word smelt when there's a similar word, stunk, which would also rhyme with trunk. So maybe part of the reason why the rhyme scheme changes sort of halfway through the poem is to really emphasize just how smelly these monkeys are. So you might be expecting the word stunk because it rhymes with trunk, but then at the last minute you hear the word smelt and you're just like, and that really makes you pay attention to the word there. So something to look out for when analysing the rhyme scheme of a poem is when it changes suddenly. But for the most part, this poem is made up of pairs of lines that rhyme. And another word for this is a rhyming couplet. So they're mostly rhyming couplets, except at the very, very end, when instead of saying stunk, the poet went for smelt, just to make you pay attention to how horrendously the monkeys smelt. Oh, let me get rid of my annotations here. Okay, one final feature that we're going to look at in our poem is the use of literary devices. So these are things like metaphors and similes and alliteration. There's not huge amounts of figurative language, so things like similes and metaphors in this poem, but there is a healthy amount of alliteration. So I've highlighted one example for you here, although I'm going to do it again in a slightly darker pen so it's a bit easier to see. But on line 4, we can see the words wombat and waddle. So this is an example of alliteration because both these words begin with a wa sound. So wombat, waddle. Can you find any more examples of alliteration in the poem or any other literary devices? I'll give you a moment to think and have a read. We've got an example here. We have monkey and mercy. Great job. So on line 6, we've got monkey, mercy. They both begin with M. Great. Let's draw those in. Ooh. And we also have elsewhere in the text, mutton and more. That's great. So once again, alliteration of the letter M. What colour should we use? Let's go for purple. Ooh, no. Where's my pen? There it is. Mutton, more. Great job. Alliteration is quite a nice one to try and spot. We've also got wolf and with. Yeah, that definitely counts. And then in terms of other literary devices, throughout this poem, there is loads and loads and loads of repetition. That's an absolutely great spot. And that helps keep the rhythm of the poem going. So first I saw blah, blah, blah. Then I saw the blah, blah, blah. Then I saw the da, da, da. And that gives our poem lots of structure. I've got a question here which asks, what does more mean? That is a great question. Can you have a think and try and deduce it? What guesses do you have? Because sometimes there will be unfamiliar words in a comprehension passage. Does anyone want to have a guess at what the word more means? Give you a moment to think. And if you're really stuck, I'll help you out. But where might a grey wolf hold some mutton? Okay, we've got some great guesses so far. Maybe nose, maybe mouth/jaw. Lots of people say jaw and mouth. And yes, I can reveal that a more is quite an old word for mouth. I think in sort of more modern times, we might say jaw instead, which would still rhyme with straw. But maybe the poet chose more for that alliteration that we were just talking about. So yes, more means mouth. Great job, everybody. I think that's a lot of different literary devices that we've now talked about. I think it's time to apply that in a comprehension exercise. So we're going to jump on over back to Atom Learning and set up a custom practice. So leaving the world, unfortunately, and going, oh wow, look at us go. We've reached our English weekly target. She's absolutely smashing it. Thank you very much for the coins. And in case you're wondering what the coins are for, if you go into this store, you can use the coins to buy fun accessories for Atto, who is this little purple monster over here. On to poetry now. So we head on over to practices, go to a custom practice. I'm going to change this to year 5. And then if I go to comprehension and then genre, I can look at some lovely poetry questions. Let's start off with 10. I think it's a good number. Okay, here we go. So this is actually a poem written by one of my very good friends, and it's very topical. It's about Christmas. We're going to start off by reading it, and I hope you enjoy it because it's a really, really fun poem. So it's called The Worst Saurus. I actually might zoom in a little bit as well, just to help you out. So, The Worst Saurus by Zoe Osterloh. This Christmas I asked Santa for a dinosaur, as you cannot just buy one from the store. The issue is they're extinct, of course. You can only acquire one from a magical source. My father bemoaned, that's an absurd idea, but I knew what I wanted, crystal clear. There is nothing else I have ever wanted more than a real-life prehistoric carnivore. I told Mr. Claus that any saurus would do. It needn't be shiny or sparkling or new. Velociraptor, Stegosaurus, perhaps a T-Rex. Any of these I would gladly accept. Imagine how I felt that snowy Christmas day when I hopped out of bed and raced to where the presents lay. Beneath our bejeweled and bedazzled Christmas tree, no dinosaur-shaped presents waiting for me. I sat on the floor and I cried and I cried. I had just one present left to look inside. The box looked too tiny to fit a dinosaur. I picked the box up. It didn't rattle nor roar. Tearing open the gift wrap, I hoped for the best, but the contents within left me yet more depressed. Santa had brought me the worst saurus of all. Deflated, I tossed my thesaurus at the wall. I was not sad. I was melancholy. This was not madness, it was folly. I was not angry, I was exasperated. I felt so unhappy, nay, devastated. Mother, I cried out in a fit of pique, the festive season is looking quite bleak. She told me to call old Claus and have a word. You have so many now, you will surely be heard. that is the end of the poem. And look at these little dinosaurs. I am so charmed by them. They're so cute with their various Christmas accessories. It's great fun. So that is our passage, and that's what we will be analysing today. And the very first question is, what kind of saurus did the narrator receive in the poem? Is it A, the best saurus, B, a stegosaurus, C, a brontosaurus, D, an apatosaurus, or was it E, a thesaurus? Get this poll ready. Have a think and vote when you're ready. If you've answered in the poll already, can you tell me what your favourite dinosaur is, or what your favourite saurus is? Someone has said something which I have never heard of. For everyone else, I'm going to give you 3 more seconds to get your answers in. So 3, 2, 1, end the poll there. Here are our results. Pretty much everybody went for E, so that's what we're going to go for. E, a thesaurus. Is it right? Let's see. And it's absolutely right. Well done, us. So we are told on line 23 that Santa brought the narrator the worst saurus of all. And the next line says, the narrator tossed my thesaurus to the wall. So there we go. A few people have told me that their favourite dinosaur is a T-Rex. Yep, absolute classic. Love that for you. That's just a description here. Those with the very long necks, so possibly a brontosaurus, maybe something like this third dinosaur in the image at the bottom of the poem. And then there is a baryons. Baryons. I'm not sure how to say that one, but I had to look that one up later. Great job, everyone. On to the next question now. So, how is the narrator feeling in the 5th stanza? Let's see if I can find it for you. So it's this bottom one here. I sat on the floor and I cried and I cried. I had just one present left to look inside. The box looked too tiny to fit a dinosaur. I picked the box up. It didn't rattle nor roar. How is the narrator feeling? Let me know if it's A, angry, B, despairing, C, relaxed, D, neutral, or E, content. Someone's told me their favourite dinosaur is an Argentinosaurus. I don't know if that's real. I'm guessing it could be a World Cup themed answer. Very topical. Okay. How is the narrator feeling in the 5th stanza? If you aren't sure what stanza means, it's essentially a paragraph in a poem. So a stanza is like a verse. Okay, 3 more seconds. So 3, 2, 1. End the poll there. And a few people went for A, but even more people went for B. So let's try B and have a look. It turns out B is the correct answer. Let's look at why. So we're told that the narrator cried and cried when they only had one present left, and that it wasn't a dinosaur. So from this, we can infer that the narrator is despairing. Now, if you weren't sure what the word despairing meant, you might have noticed that it contains the word despair. So when you are filled with despair, you feel a loss of hope. It's quite a negative and sad emotion. So the narrator has lost all hope of receiving a dinosaur in this stanza. Okay. How do we know the narrator wasn't fussy about the dinosaur they received? Select 2 reasons. So is it that The narrator said it could be either a T-Rex or a Stegosaurus. The narrator said you could only get them from a magical source. The narrator asked for it as a Christmas present. The narrator said they would happily accept a multitude of dinosaurs. Or is it that the narrator told Santa that any dinosaur would be fine? So a relevant part of the text might be over here. So I'm going to put that on the screen for you and then set this poll up. Remember, you have to choose 2 answer options this time. I appreciate that's a little bit more difficult when you can't see the entire passage for yourself, but have a go. So to repeat the question, it's how do you know the narrator wasn't fussy about the dinosaur they received? I guess that could be rephrased as how do you know the narrator wasn't fussy about the type of dinosaur they received? Try and use the process of elimination to help you. So look at all the answer options and think which one of those don't make sense for this question. And that might help you find the answer. Okay, everyone has answered now. So let's end the poll. And here are our results. We can see that D and E are the most popular. So let's put those in. And that is absolutely right. Well done. So quickly look here. In line 9, the poet says, I told Mr. Claus that any saurus would do. And this shows us that E is correct. It's basically the same thing, but slightly rephrased. And then on lines 11 to 12, the narrator says, Velociraptor, Stegosaurus, perhaps a T-Rex. Any of these I would gladly accept. So we know that D is correct. Well done, everyone. This is a fun question. So what did the narrator's dad think of their idea to get a dinosaur? Is it that the dad thought it was innovative, which is A, B, exciting, C, unlikely, D, terrifying, or E, preposterous? And if there are any words that you're unsure about, just ask me in the Q&A. For those of you who are feeling confident, let's get this poll up. And this will have to be our last question. We need to do a bit of creative writing. Okay, lots of people have answered already. I'm going to give you 5 more seconds. Oh, everyone's answered. Perfect. Here we go. Those are our results. And we can see that E is the most popular. He thought it was preposterous. Let's have a look. And we really know our stuff. Well done. So on line 5, we can see the line, my father bemoaned, that's an absurd idea. So key word here is absurd. That means the same thing as preposterous. And it means that it's so ridiculous, so unreasonable, and a bit foolish. So well done if you got that. I think lots of us got that right. Now I'm going to jump back into the presentation for the final part of this lesson. No, there we go. Here we are. We have now completed the second part of our lesson. So big tick here, big tick here. Moving on to our final part, which is to look at haikus. So here is an example of a haiku. You might have heard of this type of poem before, but it has a few very distinctive features. So it's a traditional form of Japanese poetry, which has to be structured in a particular way. So each line must contain a specific number of syllables. So syllables are the number of beats in each word. So a haiku must have 17 syllables in total. And the first line of a haiku must have 5 syllables. So snow falling softly, that's 5. And the second line has to have 7 syllables, blanketing the frozen earth. And then the final line must also have 5 syllables, so nature's blank canvas. You can see in total there's 17, split up into 5 syllables, then 7 syllables, and then finally 5 syllables. And what we're going to do is write our own wintry haiku. So we're going to focus on the theme of winter because, well, it's winter. And I've come up with some words related to the theme of winter. Here they are. So I've got cold, snow, cozy socks, dark, Christmas, frost, blankets, ice, chestnuts, hot chocolate, jumpers, scarf and gloves. If you can come up with any more, great, let me know in the Q&A. These are just some ideas that I came up with earlier. And what would be really good to do is to choose either 1, 2, or 3 of these words that you want to include in your haiku, and then count how many syllables they have. You can then use this to figure out which line you want to have the word in based on the number of syllables it has. So, got a suggestion of snowman. Yeah, lovely. But if I go to this next slide, this makes it really clear how many syllables should be in each line of your haiku. And then I want you to now have a go at writing your very own haiku on the theme of winter. So type into the Q&A a short haiku about maybe snow or Christmas or being cold, and try and stick to the correct number of syllables in each line. So your first line should have 5 syllables, the next one should have 7, and then 5 again. And I've got a question here. It says, what does innovative mean? So if something's really innovative, then it's very new and quite cool. So you could say that phones having 2 cameras is very innovative. Sorry, I think I missed that one from earlier. Oh, I've got a first line of a haiku already. Very exciting. Keep them coming in. Do you want to talk about snow or cold or being warm despite the cold, I guess? I'm going to give you 2 minutes to write your haiku. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just give it a go. Get involved. I'll read out this first line. Earth being covered. That's great. You've got your 5 syllables there. Earth being covered. Lovely. Can you give me a few more lines? Oh, we've got a complete haiku here. Hope you don't mind if I read it out loud because I think it's great. So we have snowflakes are falling. Soon I hear Santa calling. Reindeers on the roof. Now that is gorgeous. I love that you've snuck in a little rhyme there. Falling and calling. I think that you've gotten the correct number of syllables in each line as well. So that's really, really great. Big well done. That's got me very excited for Christmas. Ooh, we've got a second line, I think. So we've got earth being covered. The cold breeze spreads out. Ooh, maybe that's a final line because it has 5 syllables. We've got building big snowmen. Lovely, great start. Keep going. Really looking forward to reading these, but we are slightly running out of time. Oh, okay. So you have earth being covered, Christmas is soon, the cold breeze spreads out. Lovely job. I like the repetition a lot, really helps make your point. And I think you did a great job of getting the correct number of syllables. Well done. Ooh, okay, another haiku here. The snow fell down softly, covering the town like a blanket. Santa is coming to town. Lovely job. Again, you've got that sort of cozy / briskness of winter, and I like the fun festive twist at the end. Great job. Okay, we've now slightly run over, but if you would like to share your haiku with me, then please email support@atomlearning.co.uk and I'll have a little read. But thank you so much for everyone who did send in their work. They are great, and it's really nice to see you getting involved. That's actually it from me. I want to thank you so much for coming and joining me on this wintry day for a bit of poetry. Hopefully you found this interesting and fun. And if you are interested in doing a bit more poetry practice, then we are running some creative writing lessons in February half term. Or if you want to have a practice of the comprehension questions, check out atomlearning.co.uk and you can do a 5-day free trial. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a lovely rest of the evening. Oh, another one's ready. Hot chocolate's ready. Roast marshmallow's almost done. I'm so excited. Love that haiku. If you do want to share your haikus with me, then yeah, please email support@atomlearning.co.uk and just put haiku in the subject line. And a very Merry Christmas to you all. Happy New Year, and hopefully see you again soon. Thanks again for coming, and goodbye.